Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're tracing an absolutely fascinating and honestly incredibly impactful chain reaction. Welcome to this explainer. We usually think of the news in these neat little separate boxes, right? The weather report here, financial markets over there, global politics somewhere else. But what if I told you they are all intimately connected? Today, we're looking at how a single drop of rain, or, well, the lack of it, in one part of the world creates this massive ripple effect, a ripple that eventually crashes onto the shores of global markets and, yep, impacts the money right in your very own wallet. We're pulling directly from today's top headlines to show you exactly how local weather sets the stage for a massive global economic shift. Let's get right into it.
So 11, that's the number to keep in mind. And it's not just some random figure, it's practically the heartbeat of our whole explainer today. 11 represents the number of years since we faced an Indian monsoon warning this severe. The Indian Meteorological Department just sounded a massive alarm. The upcoming 2026 monsoon might be significantly weaker than normal. Now, in a country where agriculture is literally the backbone of the economy, where hundreds of millions of people rely on this seasonal rainfall, a warning of this magnitude, the weakest in over a decade, is a huge red flag. It sets the stakes, not just for local farmers, but for the entire global supply chain.
Which brings us to our first major ripple, extreme weather hitting India.
To really understand this global ripple, we've got to ground ourselves in the immediate physical reality happening right this very second. We're dealing with a totally split reality. On one hand, we finally have some monsoon relief. The rains have actually reached Kerala and are advancing across South India, bringing a much-needed break from the heat. But, and this is a big but, that onset is about 3 days later than usual. And that delay? It matters. Because meanwhile, on the flip side, we have a severe heatwave crisis. States like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and cities like Patna are absolutely baking. To put that intensity into perspective, some parts of the north have seen temperatures hovering near a blistering 50 degrees Celsius. That is over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Local governments are scrambling to prep heat relief measures, and agricultural experts are on extremely high alert, intensely monitoring literally every single inch of rainfall progress.
So, what's the actual culprit behind this wild, extreme disruption? Well, it's El Nino. You've probably heard the name, but basically it's a climate pattern directly linked to the warming of ocean surface temperatures. The IMD is explicitly pointing to this specific climate condition as the primary catalyst for the weaker than normal monsoon we're expecting. It's wild to think about, really. A shift in ocean temperatures thousands of miles away alters wind patterns, which then delays the rain in Kerala, which then keeps the heat cranked way up in Rajasthan. This climate phenomenon right here, it's the very first domino to fall in our chain. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the climate economy connection. We're pivoting right from meteorology to money. There are 3 major inflation risks escalating right now because of these exact weather extremes. First up, food prices. They're facing massive pressure from strained agricultural output. Basically, if rainfall stays below average, the cost to feed everyone is going to surge. At the exact same time, all those intense cooling needs are sending energy demand through the roof, which is dangerously stressing power grids across northern regions. And compounding all of this, transport costs. Moving whatever food is produced while at the same time maintaining cooling supply chains makes logistics incredibly sensitive to fuel prices. Extreme temperatures and weak rainfall are squeezing rural farms and stressing urban energy grids all at once. It's a perfect storm. Let's make this really explicit. This is the Wallet Connect. While the headlines today might say that fuel prices have remained completely unchanged across major Indian cities, do not let that fool you into a false sense of security. Rising crude oil globally, paired with that immense agricultural strain we just talked about, means inflation is knocking directly on your front door. When commodities traders and policymakers are nervously watching the weather forecast, it means a weak monsoon is actively working right now to drive up your daily grocery bill and your future fuel costs. And that zooms us out to the global stage. Global tensions and energy. Unfortunately, local weather doesn't operate in a vacuum. This energy strain is colliding head-on with some incredibly complex global events. In Eastern Europe, drone attacks on Russian energy infrastructure and oil terminals are a huge reason why global oil prices are staying so elevated right now. Meanwhile, over in North America, you've got persistent wildfire smoke blanketing entire regions, significantly escalating worldwide climate concerns. And if we look at the Middle East, specifically ongoing security discussions involving Iran, well, international investors are completely on edge as they nervously track those geopolitical shifts. We're seeing regional conflicts and international events compounding the world's energy pressures at the exact same moment domestic demand is spiking from those heat waves. All of this creates a massive, compounding global volatility snapshot. Rising crude oil is affecting everything, everywhere. Add to that the fact that aviation safety is under heavy scrutiny after some recent incidents, meaning the airline sector is nervously watching those exact same fuel costs. Global investment flows are shifting, and there's just a distinct uncertainty in global trade right now. Even domestic political developments, like the internal party tensions currently unfolding in West Bengal, add critical layers of complexity to the mix. It's like a giant puzzle where everything is interconnected. The logistics sector is facing massive cost pressures right as the world tries to navigate these overlapping crises. And this brilliantly illustrates our next focus: tech, AI, and adaptation.
Because look, humanity doesn't just sit around when faced with a crisis, right? We innovate. There is a clear, multi-pronged technological adaptation strategy happening right now to answer these macro trends. Advanced weather forecasting is playing a more critical role this monsoon season than ever before, helping commodity markets and farmers actually anticipate the rainfall. Simultaneously, renewable energy investments are accelerating fast, aiming to relieve those traditional energy grids that are being strained by intense heat waves. And tying the whole shebang together, AI and digital transformation. They are rapidly reshaping workplaces to drive efficiency in times of economic uncertainty. It really proves that our best answer to climate and economic risk is aggressive technological advancement. And you can actually see this innovation and policy in action across the board. Just look at the headlines. We've got smart city and public transport modernization advancing, electric mobility is expanding like wildfire, the consumer tech market is absolutely thriving with new smartphone launches and wearable tech. Globally, cybersecurity is being pushed right to the forefront. And at the policy level, we're seeing the new government and Karnataka announce major student welfare initiatives, while the nation simultaneously tackles skilled labor shortages by prioritizing vocational education and digital skills. Even while the world grapples with inflation and El Niño, targeted domestic policies and innovation are marching fiercely forward. Which brings us to a quick change of pace. Let's look at a global snapshot of sports. Speaking of marching forward, I like to call this the cultural march. Because despite the heavy global restructuring we just analyzed, look at what remains a steadfast priority. International cricket fixtures are moving ahead with full, vibrant energy. European football transfer rumors are completely dominating sports coverage. Nations are intensely prepping for the upcoming Olympic Games. Esports, it's seeing absolutely massive, rapid sector growth. And women's sports are experiencing an undeniable audience boom right now. Alongside all this, youth sports participation and major infrastructure projects continue to get crucial funding. It just goes to show that culture, entertainment, and human connection are incredibly resilient. So the crucial point is this. We've traced the journey from a delayed monsoon drop in Kerala to the spike in your grocery bill, to drone strikes on oil terminals, all the way to the AI algorithms trying to fix the global supply chain. Every single piece is linked, which leaves us with the ultimate question. As weather patterns increasingly dictate global inflation and commodity volatility, is our technology, our policy, and our digital transformation adapting fast enough to keep up? It is arguably the defining challenge of our time, and the data suggests we're in a race against the clock. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep an eye on the sky and an eye on the markets. They are more connected than ever.